So I'm here to debate. I believe that Black Lives Matter is actually a good thing. And I believe that there's a differentiation between the statement and the foundation because one is more popular than the other. I think that there's a bias with race in general within politics, and I think the Republican Party lacks a consistency in that. So my question to you is going to be, if I name these three names, could you tell me if they're guilty or not guilty? Okay, so the first one's going to be Carmelo Anthony.
Based on the facts available, absolutely guilty.
Okay. Now, O.J. Simpson.
Oh, absolutely guilty.
Okay. George Zimmerman.
No, self-defense. He was acquitted by a jury of his peers.
Now, if we're going based on facts, what makes the Carmelo Anthony and the George Zimmerman case different?
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin at 2 a.m., and the stand your ground law allows you to stand your ground up against people that wish you harm. Carmelo Anthony, with that Austin Metcalf, who he murdered in cold blood, said, "Don't touch me" at a high school track meet, said one thing he didn't like, took out a knife, and then brutally stabbed him to death. Those are not moral equivalents. George Zimmerman and Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony are on different planets morally. Don't ever compare them. That is incredible moral confusion.
But
And I thought you'd be smarter than that.
I am. So I want to debate, how is it hunting when it was confirmed by the police department that not Carmelo Anthony, that George Zimmerman followed him? It was the other way around.
Again, the facts around the George Zimmerman case, I'll admit, are a little bit rusty. It's been 10 years since that case. What I remember is this. It was highly scrutinized.
Right.
The jury was bipartisan. He was fully acquitted. And when all the facts came out, it was legitimate self-defense. Now, if that ends up happening in the Carmelo Anthony case, I guess I'll reevaluate it.
Right.
But again, they're not even close to in the same moral dimension.
But I would argue that they are, because George Zimmerman was told to stand back by the police department. He had no authority to follow him. And it was a self-defense case where the problem is he who dies does not get to testify. The only fact that was presented in court was based on George Zimmerman's testimony.
Okay, I want to speed this up. I don't think people even know who George Zimmerman is in this audience. This was a decade ago.
So we could go with O.J. Simpson.
Well, which crime of O.J. Simpson are we talking about? Because he was incarcerated twice.
Well, the crime of the murder.
Okay.
What makes you believe that he's guilty if you're going based on fair law judgment rather than emotional bias?
Again, you really think that was a fair trial? First of all, the police screwed up a lot of stuff. Let's just be honest. The police was the reason why O.J. Simpson was accused. They reached too far. They wanted to get a guilty verdict too much. Kardashian pounced on it. And let's all be very clear. If the police would have just preserved evidence in its original form,